After a tense escape, the protagonist and his companions take temporary refuge in a luxurious hotel suite. There, they review their encounter with the Shade and delve into decades of files on the mysterious entity. However, as they uncover new evidence linked to the Shade, they realize they may have become entangled in a larger conspiracy. Thank you for your subscription and likes. I hope you will leave your comments in the comments section. Chapter 33. When I opened my eyes, the first thing I saw was the square tiles of the ceiling. I was lying in a hospital bed with soft, white sheets. There was a needle inserted into my hand. A hollow tube connected it to a bag containing clear fluid hooked on a metal stand. The sight made me remember what had happened. Daniel's eyeballs bursting, his tongues wriggling out to suck me dry. My hands immediately went to my neck, expecting tiny, teeth wounds. But what I felt was the smooth plastic covering the bandages that dressed my wounds. I sat up and looked around. But I don't see anyone. I decided to wait. I just noticed that I was still in my uniform, our disguise for our museum trip. The collar had become thick with dry blood. But my neck and chest were cleaned up. No trace of anything remained. After a while, no one still came. I was starting to get bored. There was a television. But I don't see the remote anywhere. I drew my covers away and swung my legs off the bed. I was still feeling weak. I probably shouldn't be doing this, but I don't think I can go back to sleep now. I decided to test things first. Using my arms as support, I lifted myself up on the bed and slowly shifted my weight to my legs. Surprisingly, I found them to be steady. I grabbed the four-pole for support just to be sure, and because I'm still stuck to the thing, I walked towards the windows. They slid open smoothly. A gentle morning breeze blew in. I breathed it in, filling my lungs with cold air. The sun was shining bright. Thick, fluffy clouds were rolling in the sky. The street below was buzzing with life. There was the indistinct chatter of a group of students passing by. The revving engine of cars driving through. It was like a regular, lazy morning. For a moment, I just stood by my window, absorbing all of these boring bits of everyday life. Things I wouldn't appreciate if it weren't for the past several days. I heard the door creaked open and a deep voice called out from behind. "Good to see you standing," Major Coleman greeted with a smile. "How are you feeling?" "Fine," I replied. "Where are the others?" "And what happened when I one at a time," he said. "First, sit down. I'm gonna get you something to eat." I didn't even get the chance to argue. He was already gone. So I crawled back to my bed and waited. When he came back, he was carrying a white plastic tray. He set it down the table on the side of my bed and saw how disappointing my breakfast was. My meal consisted of a plate of a couple of shriveled sausages and a sad-looking, scrambled eggs that was folded on itself. An apple, carton of milk, and a glass of water. "Am I being punished?" Major laughed. "I had to get you something quick. I just told them to put in was what available. Just think of it as appetizers." I forked my eggs up to inspect them. They unfurled as I lifted them up. It was so dry and thin that it was almost transparent. Aren't appetizers supposed to be, appetizing? Tell you what, you suck it up. Finish that, then we get some real food. Deal. I bite down on the sausage. Why are hospital foods so terrible and bland? Is it the medication? Or do the cooks don't have taste buds? I rolled the eggs and with 2 quick bites they were gone. I scarfed everything down and emptied my milk. I picked up the apple and took a bite. How long was I out? Since last night. A little over 18 hours. We were lucky we got to you before it got worse. Like with Eris. I thought. So where are they? Major Coleman took a seat at the side of my bed. Back at the dorm. What for? It's over, right? We did it. You did it, Major Coleman emphasized. He was smiling like a proud father. My insides twisted with the guilt. I guess they didn't tell him. Do you know how I did it? His smile faded away. Your friends told me everything. Then you know that he held up a finger. You played the hand you were dealt. You made an impossible decision. I should feel relieved, knowing that Major Coleman was on my side. He was right. I made a choice no teenager or even any adult could have made. I saved us. But I don't feel like a hero. I changed the subject. And my parents. They have no idea, do they? Major Coleman just shrugged. You know how it works. Besides, we have to make sure. Make sure the shade is really gone. I thought. So what happens now? Major Coleman studied me for a bit. Well, you're supposed to rest. But since you look fine now, I guess I can go ahead and ask your doctor to sign your release. He got up and went, leaving me alone to enjoy my tasteless breakfast. When we got back to the dorm, my friends greeted me with smiles and slaps on the back as they surround me. There he is, Harmony said, prompting the round of applause I got. You were awesome, man, Darius said, slapping my back really hard, making me wince. Dude, check this, Leo said. He made a sweeping gesture on the air. Virgil, the Shade Slayer. Oh, that is so cool. Okay, I admit that was pretty cool. Hey, Cana said. Glad you're not dead. I smiled. Me too. The sliding door behind us opened. A soldier holding pizza boxes entered. All right, who's up for pizza? Major Coleman announced. Everyone cheered in response. Major Coleman took the stack of pizza boxes and we followed him to the dining area. The room was as we left it. The tables were still pushed together, so we ended up sharing it. No sense in sitting separately at this point. Major Coleman set the boxes on the top. We started spreading it out. Darius and her sister got up and went to the storage room. I opened one of the boxes. It was a classic flavor: pepperoni, sausages, onions, green peppers. The smell made my mouth water. I took a piece out and savored my first bite. Although it could use a bit of hot sauce. Somebody actually ordered this. Indigo said, pushing a box of pizza as far away from her as possible. I say pizza, but it was just spinach and is that broccoli. And other vegetables. There was no meat. I did, Leo said. I stared at him. What? He said. You've never had vegetarian pizza before. Dude, that's not pizza. I said. That's just bread with leaves stuck on it. What is wrong with you guys? Leo said, savoring a piece. It's good. Just try one. I have taste buds, so pass. He gave me a look. Then he turned to Indigo. Grab a slice. She made a disgusted face. I hate spinach. Leo turned to Caprice, offering her one. But she just gave a polite smile. I'm good, thanks. I'll have one. Cana said. Finally. Leo beamed. Someone who understand. Leo raised his pizza slice to Cana. Cheers. Cheers. Cana said, toasting her pizza with Leo's like champagne glass. They were laughing and eating, acting all buddy-buddy with each other. I'm just glad that Leo is feeling better enough that he's back to his old, playful self. Darius and her sister came back with 2L bottles of Pepsi and Mountain Dew. Scarlett handed out disposable plastic cups. In light of recent events, I believe a toast is in order. Major Coleman said. Then he raised his cup. To you kids. For your courage and for getting rid of the shade once and for all. We all followed suit, cheering and whistling as we raised our cups and drank our cups empty. Let us also not forget the sacrifices of others. Major Coleman said. Let's give them a minute of silence. I thought about Kent, Eris, Demi, that night guard, the countless soldiers who died to protect us. No one dared to break the silence. All right, Major Coleman said when the minute is up. Now eat up, kids. You deserve it. So what's the plan now? Cana asked, still munching on that veggie-topped triangular bread slice. Are you going to send us home sooner? Unfortunately, no. Major Coleman said. I believe everything you kids have told me. But who can guarantee that the shade won't show itself again? And what if something worse than the shade appeared and catch us off guard? Like last time. Besides, if people found out that you haunteds went home a little early, what do you think will happen? We all remained quiet, absorbing his points. And we still have that cult to deal with. Major Coleman said. So there really is no reason to send you home now. But we are getting close to finding them. Our investigation proved successful. Then he looked at me and Cana. Remember your school nurse, Aaron? Cana said. He didn't show up for work, right? Yeah, what about him? I asked Major Coleman. He never returned back to work. Your father couldn't get a hold of him. So we went to his house with a warrant. He wasn't there, Major Coleman said. The place was spotless, like nobody ever lived there. The landlady didn't even know he was gone. And it's the same with the other school doctors and nurses. But not with my dad, right? Cana ventured. Major Coleman smiled. No, Mr. Bernardo is still working on your school. But it begs the question, if they got into the system, how deep have the cult infiltrated? The question lingered in the air, stopping all conversations for a while. Is there anything we can do to help? Leo said. There is, Major Coleman said. Eat up, rest, beat the high score at that dance machine. And later tonight we'll need you outside. Same setup like last time, in case we encounter a problem. So nothing's changed. Harmony summed up. Does that mean we won't be getting any sleep? Cana said. You'll have to bear with it. Major Coleman said. Once I'm convinced that you kids are no longer in any kind of danger, then we can discuss your new routine. You can disregard what Mr. Donovan briefed you the first night. It's not like we got to do any of it, Leo said. The conversation stopped as we turned our attention to the pizza we were holding. That's when my eyes caught something interesting on the front page of the newspaper that came with the pizza. It was folded so only the bottom half was visible. At the bottom left corner was a headline titled Road Accident, Blamed on Black Lady Sighting. I reached for the newspaper and kept reading. According to the paramedics who've responded to the scene, the driver, Mr. Pring, is convinced that a tall, dark figure jumped in front of his car while driving, causing him to swerve and crash. Case Investigator Police Executive Master Sergeant William Roccacorba said in a phone interview. I quickly chew and emptied my soda cup to free my throat. Major, I said, holding up the newspaper, pointing at the headline. Is this last night? What is? Said. Cana said. I read it out to them. Yes, Major Coleman confirmed. You're obviously behind this, Leo said. He reached for the newspaper so I gave it to him. But a black lady, really? You think that'll work? On the contrary, Cato said. Bastilians always associate sightings of black ladies as omens for road accidents, so I think it's perfect. I'm afraid I cannot that credit for that, Major Coleman said. What probably happened was that the driver said a tall, dark figure. This newspaper company sensationalized it to a black lady sighting. It plays to the city's superstition and beliefs, so I believe Cato may be right about this. But what about the people around that time? The driver himself? Cana asked. They won't buy this. There's no way. Maybe not, Major Coleman said. But imagine you're at home, reading this newspaper. What would you think? I'll read it, Darius said. It sounds interesting. And Scarlett asked. And throw it in with the other recyclables, Darius replied, making us laugh. Last night will be just yesterday's news, Major Coleman said. I'd worry more about getting as much rest as you can after this. Major Coleman said. Then he looked at me. Especially if you've just came out of the hospital. I nodded. After the pizza party, I followed Major Coleman's advice and headed straight for my room after cleaning up. Being full made me sleepy already, and the fact that the sun's out gives me the sense of security to go to sleep. It seemed like my body needed the sleep because it was already night when I woke up. Immediately, I opened my drawer and took the pen and folder inside. On my way out of the door, I swapped the pen for Cana's penknife. It was returned to me after being released from the hospital. I ran downstairs and went outside. Hey, I greeted them. Glad you could join us, Leo said. I was just about to come get you, Cana added. Immediately, I was handed a searchlight. I didn't have to turn it on to know that it emits UV rays. Major Coleman gave me a nod. Good, everyone's here. So, nothing? I asked. Nothing yet, Cana said. The conversation stopped. I turned my attention to my surroundings. The UV wall lights and lampposts are on. Major's men had already set up a perimeter, armed with UV searchlights and rifles. Everyone was on alert. Cato came up to my side. You think he'll come back? If Asgarmoth was telling the truth, I said. I doubt it. I remembered our fight. How I despaired last night and already accepted death. But he picked me up. Literally. He thought of things I didn't, giving me the necessary tools to defeat Daniel. Now I realized that if it weren't for what he did, none of us would be standing out here right now. Hey, I said to him. Thanks. For last night. For hitting you. I smirked. For not giving up. He crossed his arms over his chest and looked straight. Giving up means we die. Looks like the primordial being was the type to keep his words, or more likely, he was bound by the deal or the ritual, because morning came and nothing happened. The shade, Daniel, never reappeared. It's been like this for almost a week now that Major Coleman stopped sending us out at night for shade study. So tonight, everyone went to their rooms. I thought I was about to get a good night's sleep for the first time in over 2 weeks since we've come here. As soon as I lie down, I just realized that ever since coming here, this was the first time I've ever been all alone in my room at night, alone with my thoughts. My pulse started racing, but I tried closing my eyes. Immediately, scenes of Eris wailing about her bleeding stumps, of Kent coughing up blood, of Demi's slashed throat, of the soldiers that were cut in half in an instant with their riot shields, flashed through my mind. I sat up. I turned on my lamp, even though my room, the floor, the ceiling, and the walls were bathed in UV lights. Every corner, the insides of each furniture, even under my bed, had UV lights installed. I wiped the sweat on my forehead with the edge of my shirt. For the past days, I've never once relived the nightmares of what we've been through. But that's because we were in one. There was not a moment that any one of us was alone. And most of the time, our attention was spent on each other or in figuring out how to survive every night. Even the shade study that we were doing up until last night provided the distraction we needed, the only thing keeping the horrors from resurfacing. Now that that's gone, the effect of our ordeals was starting to set in. I lie down again, giving sleep another shot, but my mind insists I watch replays of the gory images. I gave up on sleeping and thought of playing Tekken 7 to brush up on my Brian when I've heard the scream. Chapter 34. It was a girl's scream, but I don't know whose. I ran out of my room. Everyone must have heard that because we were all up, standing in our doorways. What's going on? I asked Leo. His hair was still hard with wax, so he probably wasn't asleep too. I don't know, Leo said. Harmony ran past in front of me. It's Cana. We all rushed after her to Cana's room. Knock, knock, knock. Hey Cana, Harmony said. Can you hear me? Is everything okay? For a moment there was no reply. There was tension in the air around us as we waited. We've heard people marching up the stairs. What happened? Major Coleman said. He and his men had searchlights with them. We don't know, Leo said. Then we've heard shuffling on the floor on the other side. The door opened. Hi, Cana said with a weak, croaky voice. Her face was white and beaded with sweats. I'm fine. It was just a stupid nightmare. We breathed a sigh of relief. The tension disappeared. You, Major Coleman said to one of his guy. You're on guard duty. Stay with her. Cana cleared her throat. Major Coleman, please, she said with a dismissive wave of her hand, her voice back to normal. I'm fine, really. Just a bad dream. Major Coleman studied her for a bit. Very well, he said. If you kids need anything. We nodded and thanked him. Then he ordered his men down. Can I get you some water? Indigo offered Cana. Cana waved her hand again. Thank you. But I'm all right. I'm sorry for waking you up. Oh, don't worry about that, Scarlet said. I couldn't fall asleep no matter how hard I try. Do you want me to stay with you? Caprice said to Cana. Just until you sleep. Thanks, but I don't think I'll be going back to bed anytime soon. They say that the nightmares are more frequent when you're alone. Kato said. Dude, Leo said. Not helping. Then we shouldn't be alone. Harmony suggested. What do you think about having a pajama party right now? Indigo beamed. I think that's great. Me too. Caprice added. But I don't think any of the room will fit all of us, especially with the mattresses. How about downstairs on the floor? Leo said. We'll help with moving down the beds, right guys? We'll take you up on that offer. Thank you. Harmony said. Of course you guys are welcome. But we all just looked at each other, as if daring one another to say yes to the invite. After moving the mattresses, we all went to our room to change out of our sweaty clothes. I didn't have any pajama, so I wore a plain white shirt and black shorts. I wasn't sure of going down. I kind of feel weird about it. But I'm also not sleeping alone tonight, so I joined them downstairs. The girls were sitting down on the mattresses pushed together to make a giant one on the floor. There was a pile of branded cupcakes and snack cakes in the middle. Everyone had steaming cups. Hey, Cana called out. She was wearing gray shorts and a white shirt with a print of a cartoon pug in a birthday hat puking rainbow over a cake. I thought we were sleeping, I said, sitting beside her. We were sitting in front of Caprice, who was sitting like a mermaid in her long, white nightgown sitting on her hip, one hand propping her up, with her feet tucked on one side. Who sleeps in a pajama party? Scarlett said. Right, I said. So, you guys talking about ghost stories or something? I winced immediately after saying that. Yeah, Scarlett said. She must really love red because she's wearing matching red pajamas with white polka dot. Because we don't have enough horror in our lives already. No, this is when you bring out board games. Play truth or dare. Eat cake in bed. Or talk about boys. Caprice said. The girls giggled. Indigo nodded. She was wearing a purple unicorn onesies so that when she nodded, so did the unicorn. I thought you weren't coming. Cana said while the girls talk about their K-pop crushes. Why not? Guys aren't really into this sort of thing, she said. Then what's he doing here? I said, staring at the one thing that didn't belong with the rest. What? Darius said while eating cake. He was wearing the same pajamas as Scarlett, only his was blue with white polka dots. My sister dragged me, okay. Scarlett looked confused. No, I didn't. Actually, I don't think the boys would like that. Harmony said when Indigo started ranking the hottest K-pop stars. Then she pulled out Uno cards from the pocket of her two-piece long, pink pajama with ruffled ends that she was wearing. Maybe we could play instead. My mom thought it would be a good icebreaker, but I didn't really have the chance to show it to you guys until now. That's Miss Congeniality for you. Always considerate about everyone. Yeah. Let's do it. Darius said, jumping on Harmony's suggestion instantly. I'll play, I said. Are we playing with the standard rules or can we steal? We all sat in circle. Harmony started dealing the cards. I was expecting Leo to be here. Kato. Well, is Kato. But I was sure Leo likes this stuff, talking and flirting with girls. But maybe this is too girly for him. Or maybe he still thinks about Eris. Stop that. I commanded myself. That kind of thinking wouldn't do me any good. I shook my head and tried my best to be present. So I hit Cana with a 4 card. Warm and bright light on my face woke me up. I sat up and rubbed my eyes. It was already morning. Sunlight was beaming through the glass sliding door. I slept though the entire night without my mind interrupting my sleep with horrible images. I looked around. The rest was still sleeping. I didn't see Cana around. She must have gone up early. I stood up and went to the dining area to wash my face. Morning, Cana greeted. She was sitting at the table holding a steaming cup. You're up early, I said, walking to the sink. Did you sleep okay?
Norge nightmares.
No nightmares, Cana confirmed. I splashed myself with cold, tap water. That did the trick of waking me up. After drying my face, I just realized how chilly it was. Then I noticed that the glass sliding window was opened. Cold and fresh mountain air was circulating in and out of the room. I grabbed a packet of 3-in-1 instant coffee and made myself a cup and joined Cana at the table. Caprice actually brewed a pot yesterday. I could just reheat it, but it's too strong for my taste. We just sat there for a while, just absorbing the peaceful silence the room had to offer. Daylight from outside made the room bright and clear. I breathed in a lungful of the sweet, pleasant aroma of my creamy latte and took a sip. I had both hands on the steaming ceramic cup to keep warm. Uno was fun, Cana said. I'm sure she brushed her hair, but there are plenty of spots where they just won't stay down. The sunlight makes the bags under her eyes more pronounced. She wasn't wearing any makeup, but somehow she still looks kind of nice. It was, I said. My heart was already palpitating like crazy. And it's only been my second sip. A creamy latte this strong. Maybe it's the brand. That face you did last night was especially funny. I remembered how her jaw dropped when I hit her with a 4 card. Like I betrayed her trust or something. Then her glaring at me as she drew 4 cards was the cherry on top. I can't help but smile again. She looked at me, annoyed, and then we both laughed. You know, she said. She was circling the rim of her cup with her finger. We've never talked like this before at school. I took another sip, my tongue enjoying the smooth, creamy taste of my coffee. You had your friends. I had mine. There just wasn't a lot of reason for us to talk, I guess. So it took the shade for us to talk. Cana said, not exactly a meet-cute story. I laughed. Can you believe it's just been last week? She took a sip of her coffee, staring at my neck. Then she reached out. There's almost no trace left, she said, feeling the spots in my neck where my wounds were. Her hand was warm, felt nice. I placed my hand over hers, keeping both at my neck. She looked up and met my eyes. I thought it was hopeless, I said, squeezing her hand. I was really scared. I didn't even know if it would work. I thought I would die. Her expression turned soft. But you didn't, Cana said. You saved us. You saved me. And doomed the world in the process, I said. She threw her arms around me, her head resting under my chin. You did what you had to do, she whispered. You're a hero. If anyone disagrees, well, I'll fight them. I hugged her back. Her hair smelled of sweet strawberry. Her slender body offered the warmth no amount of coffee could provide. I put a hand on the back of her head and pulled her closer. I let go of my worries and closed my eyes, savoring every second that I can get. Geez, it was Leo. Cana yelped, bumping to the table, spilling our coffee. I didn't even hear the door open, but now everyone is here. It's like 5 in the morning. It's cold. Okay. We were just conserving heat. I don't even know what I'm saying at this point, and I didn't need to conserve heat because my face was already burning. Cana didn't back me up. Instead, she shrunk to her seat, hiding behind her hair. Sure, buddy, Leo said. You made a fresh brew. It's instant coffee. The cooks passed by, but Caprice stopped at our table, gave us a funny look, and then went to the storage room. Don't mind Leo, Harmony said, sitting in front of us. He's just teasing you guys, she said, sipping coffee from her mug. She kept staring at us as if she's waiting for the show to start. Good morning, Harmy, Cana said. Her voice got squeaky. She was holding her hair in front of her nose so that only her eyes are visible.
Morning, bestie,
Harmony said. She kept her eyes at Cana while she motioned her head to me, but Cana just shook her head. Good morning, Major Coleman said. How is everyone? He looked at us one by one. I guess that's a stupid question. He continued. I apologize. I should have seen this happening. Don't worry. I'll arrange for a clinical psychologist to help you with your nightmares. But for now, I have something I want you to see. He opened the bag he was carrying and brought out a laptop. He put it on the table. We all huddled together so we can see. This was taken from one of our bases. Major Coleman said. It was already on, so we didn't need to wait for it to boot up. He clicked a file and a video popped up. This particular one houses sensitive information about our entire operation here. Looks like a CCTV footage of some hallway. He hit play. We've heard people screaming and guns firing out of the view of the CCTV. Then, people in corporate uniform running away in terror came into view, followed by a couple of soldiers. The soldiers stopped and turned around, shooting down the direction they came from. Another figure came running into the shot. He slammed into one of the soldiers and threw him to the ground. The soldier fought back, shooting the head of his assailant, while his buddy was busy putting codes in the panel inside the wall. The assailant stood over his victim. The downed soldier kept shooting at him, but the man didn't seem affected. There was no blood. He looked like he wasn't in pain. He didn't even stagger back from the barrage. Instead, he made a sweeping motion with his hand below him, and the soldier's head was decapitated. A collective gasp escaped us. Just then, 2 thick metal sheets dropped down the ceiling. The other soldier managed to jump under the falling partitions, leaving his enemy trapped inside. The mystery figure looked up at the CCTV. He was in all black, wearing a stereotypical wool robber's mask. There was a blinding flash and a loud explosion. The video went static. The replay icon appeared at the center of the video player. Indigo leaned back to her seat, crossing her arms over her chest. I don't get it. That soldier. His head just got. Leo said, making a slicing motion at his neck. Ow. The cameras didn't capture it, Major Coleman said. But according to the survivors, the man in question was engulfed by black, thick liquid that originated from the man himself. The point of origin is not determined, but the black liquid covered every inch of our culprit here. This liquid armor swallowed the bullets and spat it out again. Major Coleman moved his finger on the touchpad and jumped to the scene where the figure in black was just about to do the sweeping motion. This right here, Major Coleman said, pointing at the masked man's arm. The surviving soldier reported that the black liquid surrounding the man's arm changed into a blade. So that's why the soldier, Darius said. Then his eyebrows knitted together. Wait a minute. That sounds awfully familiar. You think he's back? Cato said, casually sipping coffee. Daniel. Major Coleman stood up straight. That's what I first thought. But the only physical part of Daniel is his head. I said, keeping my eyes on the video. So if the camera couldn't capture the shade, then we should only be seeing a floating severed head. I raised my head and looked around. Right. And this person wasn't alone. Major Coleman added. There were a dozen of them, all possessing the same shade-like ability. They attacked multiple locations at once. They got in, got out in less than 10 minutes. So what? Leo said. Daniel can possess people now. Bestow his powers somehow. One thing's for sure, Major Coleman said. Last night tells me that the cultists aren't just inbred lunatics who drink blood. They know the layout of the base, they are coordinated and patient. They planned ahead and executed it perfectly. You didn't have V. Lights installed at the other bases? Cana asked. Why would we? When there was only one shade. And when that one shade only appeared near you Haunteds. Did you figure out why they attacked? Caprice followed. They took everything, Major Coleman said. Your personal records, where you live and what school you go to. But most importantly, the location of this place, its defenses and layout. But that would mean, Caprice said. There's more. Major Coleman clicked on another folder. You remember our friend back at the train? The one you karate chopped? Leo said. Yeah, what happened to that guy? Cana asked. The folder popped up, containing images. Major Coleman clicked on one. We found him like this at his home, he said, clicking on one file. It was a photo of a guy in red shirt and sweatpants sprawled over the bloody tiles. His torso was disconnected from his lower limbs, causing his internal organs to spill out. How did you even find him? Leo asked. My guys broke into his phone, it was password protected, Major Coleman said. The one you confiscated? Cana said. Correct, Major Coleman said. Once we're in, my guys called home. His mom picked up. She agreed to cooperate after I told her that her son is in danger. Of course I kept the details vague. You think the same group was responsible? Caprice asked. His house was turned over but none of his appliances were missing. Even his wallet still has his money inside. And judging from the cause of death, robbery is not an angle we are pursuing. Major Coleman said. It is unfortunate, but the good news. We managed to get to him first and confiscate his videos before the cult did. But why did they target him? Cana said. He didn't know anything. He just took a video. Maybe the cult didn't know that. They thought he had something more than just the video. Indigo said. All this time they have this invincible army, Leo said. Why stay quiet for a long time? Why attack now? Because they didn't have them before, Cato said. He put his empty cup on the table. At least, that's the explanation that makes most sense to me. So what changed? Harmony asked. How did they get this strong now? The answer came to me quickly. I lowered my head. My stomach felt like it was churning inside out. Because I opened the seal. I said in almost a whisper, I got everyone's eyes on me now. What do you think your friends will say when they found out? Asgarmotha's words came without warning. I looked down. You don't know that. Cana said in a soft voice. Do you think she'll remain your friend? That's right. Harmony followed. Let's not jump to conclusions. I appreciate what they were doing. But this made me realize the seriousness of the consequence of my actions, of the deal I've made with the primordial being. Forget about us. I put civilians in danger. Now a situation worse than the dark year looms over us. And have you forgotten why Eris died? The guilt forces my mind to focus on one thing only. I have to undo the damage I've done. I forced myself to look up. Major, do you know any good historians?